You're making one right decision today. You're listening to Handcuffs and Sage.
Three badass moms bringing you all the true crime and paranormal your heart desires.
I'm Red.
I'm Timo.
I'm Dre. And don't let your kids listen. Seriously, just don't.
Hey, it's Handcuffs and Sage.
Woo!
Ooh, this is Red.
Hey, this is Timo.
And this is Dre.
Ooh, how are we doing? Oh, I'm so excited. Timo's going to do her hair color reveal.
Oh, yeah.
So my guess was green.
Green, right?
Okay.
And Dre's
what was your guess?
Blue.
Blue, okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, it's been a process, let me tell you. So I'm a natural brunette, but I have like salt and pepper, gray going on. And then I had a brown burgundy color on it. So Miss Amy came over on Friday and I had her put a whole bunch of bleach on it. And me knowing, I went to school. I had my license at one time. I should have stripped my hair of the color first, and I didn't do that. So my roots came out super blondie, and then my ends were like reddish, which was cool.
But I kind of like that red.
Yeah, it was really pretty. So then I debated, like, oh, should I just go red? You know, like hot red, like red's red, you know. And then I'm like, So then yesterday I decided to do the whole. I conditioned and all that stuff, and then I decided to put the more bleach on it. So I did the back section first, then I did the top section, and it came out okay. There's a couple little sections that were kind of like gold, and then I put a toner on top of it, which should have made it almost gray, but it didn't work very well, whatever. And then I couldn't sleep all night last night because my plan was to get up like at 6:30 and just put the color on, and I did it, and we're gonna reveal it. All right.
Oh my goodness.
I have a bandana on my head.
Yeah, you're living a thug life right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna cover up my camera, and I'm gonna take
Oh,
everything, so.
it's like a real reveal.
It's like a webcam show.
I know. Ooh, baby.
An OnlyFans show. I'm not
Okay,
paying
you guys
for
ready?
shit.
I'm not putting my headset on yet, so you can see it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh! You guys can't see it.
It's beautiful.
Oh,
it's
shit.
like,
Okay, hold on.
go ahead.
dark.
Let's describe the hair color to everyone that's listening.
Let me
No, I know what color it is.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna put a background on here so you guys can see.
What happened to that one background?
Let's do this one.
Yeah, it's like a blue.
It's
Blue.
Okay, it's teal. It's teal, you guys.
It's so pretty. Yes.
You guys both won. It's like a green and a blue.
We sure did.
Yeah.
We're both winners.
So I
do.
didn't take any pictures today. I did not put anything on social media, which killed me because I'm like, oh my God, I have to wait till late tonight too. Then you guys can kind of see a little bit.
Yeah,
So I'll take a picture and you guys can like see the true.
Oh, it's so pretty
on the on the internet tomorrow.
it's a great color, especially for this time of year. I love that color.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah,
so, and
gorgeous.
I use this certain hair color that's like infused with like argan oil, and my hair is so soft. You would never think that I did like 2 rounds of bleach, which is so bananas.
Oh,
so,
yeah. That's
yeah. So, yay!
Yay!
Like I said, it's totally inappropriate for my age, but whatever.
But whatever.
Life's too short, so.
You know what? We do
YOLO.
what we want.
Yep.
It was like my rose gold hair. That was some crazy shit. Like I had the longest hair, and it was like rose gold, and it turned all kinds of crazy colors after that. I
love it. Have fun with your hair.
It was so much fun. Yeah.
You only live
It's just
once.
a lot of work.
Yep.
I know. Maintenance is a bitch. All right. So I found out my father has listened to our podcast. So
Yay.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Dad.
What's up, Pop?
Hey, Dad. Which is, so great that my family supports and everything, but it's also awkward. So I'm sorry, Dad, if I say anything that offends you, but I'm an adult, so I'm just going to say whatever I want. How about that? Okay. Anyway, so this has been a really crazy long week, but we were just talking about how, all three of us work really hard at our jobs, and we have families and we have kids, and Dre has a baby and she's a nurse, right? We all have like crazy lives, but we love doing the podcast so much that we still, podcast basically in the middle of the night just to make this work, right? So
yes,
we do it because we love it. Give us some, shout outs on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those things, because it just feels so good to put in hard work and have it pay off. So we love all of you. It's really great to hear from you guys all the time.
Yeah. Shout out to my husband, because he's a freaking rock, always taking care of the baby and putting him down. And not just for the podcast, but I've been working nights, so now he's gonna be doing it 5 times a week on top of that. So
he's such a good hubby, and he loves you so much.
I know.
That's a good.
I know
he really does.
He was working on my pantry today, and that nothing in this house is level, first of all. So what a bitch. What the hell was I thinking? Okay, you guys, I wallpapered this shit. Like, why I have these gaps that start perfect, and then all the way down is like a 4-inch freaking, like, what the hell? Who built this fucking house? What is happening?
I don't know how to tell you this, Ray, but I built your house, and now it makes me feel real bad about it. I tried my best. Okay.
Yeah, like the shelves don't even go in the freaking pantry. It's all off. Whatever. I love him so much. He's like making all my little dreams come true. So
I love it. I love your love.
Yeah.
All right. So I am drinking Bud Light Seltzer tonight. No, not sponsored, sadly. But what a freaking week. And I only drink when y'all podcast, and I love this stuff. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Do you like this one?
I like that one too. But I was talking last week about that cocktail that I wanted to make with the White Claw, and then like the chamoy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so Thursday was like beginning of football season. It wasn't my team playing, but we were hanging out, and I drank 4 Trulies. Okay, not the black ones, but the white ones that are kind of seltzery. They're not real sweet. I drank 4. I was drunk off my ass because I quit drinking. You guys.
No! Oh no!
And I woke up with a hangover off of 4 Trulies. Can you believe that, you guys? Oh my God!
No, that's
never
awful.
Like that. I'm done. Like that's why I can't. That's why I quit drinking. I can't do it. But anyways, my boys played today. My boo did 3 touchdowns, and we kicked the Bucks ass. Bye, Brady. Bye, Brady.
My Rams played today and kicked ass and won, so that felt really good. I love the Rams. I love them so much.
Well, I love my Saints, and it was a good time. So it's back. Football's back.
I know.
Football.
I haven't
doing it. Our boys are going to start conditioning soon for high school.
Yes.
Oh gosh. I just hope that Ricky is ready for it. He lost. Okay, so he lost about 20 pounds being sick.
That's so crazy. That's crazy.
My God.
Horrible. Yeah.
In like 2 weeks, right?
Like a week.
Oh my God.
In like a week.
He's been so sick.
Yeah, he's been really sick. Like chest pain, everything hurts. The swelling is crazy. I think, Timo, you dealt with this too, and no cure, right? Like no reason, no diagnosis.
I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
and
I've had 2 C-sections, and I'd say it's worse than the C-sections. Yeah,
crazy.
It's horrible.
I felt so bad for him. He said that he walked outside on the concrete, and it's not smooth ground, right? So he walked outside on the concrete, and he said, "Mom, it hurt my feet." And like just that opening the bottle, like that part of your skin that put the pressure on the bottle. He was like, "Oh, it's like scorching pain. He was like, it was just so horrible. Felt so bad for
Poor
him.
thing. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So he
So
couldn't
that he's
eat
going through
anything.
that.
my
It's
son's on.
much better today.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
your boys are going to do football. Mine's in cross country, but of course he has his broken humerus. So I don't know
Right.
what's going to go on with that. But that same kid woke up this morning, looked at me, and said, what the fuck is wrong with you?"
What?
Yes, he saw my hair and he wakes up and looks at me in a daze and says, "What the fuck's wrong with you?"
Oh my God, I'd lose my mind.
And I'm like,
Oh
"Nothing.
gosh.
It's my hair and I wear it the way I want to.
Oh
I
my
ain't
God.
my hair ain't here to please you, son. Sorry."
I'm sorry if my hair offends.
Yeah,
Was it already?
God.
Was it already like the?
it was
teal
done.
color?
Yeah, it was our, yeah.
It's so great.
You should do
That's
it to
funny.
his hair when he's sleeping.
Oh
So
yeah.
you can match.
Oh well,
with
he wanted a
twinsies.
haircut, so I gave him a haircut, and I did it too short, so the world was over. It was drama. So
How dare you?
I
It's never
know.
gonna grow back
Nope.
ever.
Nope.
Mm.
Like he has some place to go, people to see. Come on.
He's
Come
got
on.
events coming up. Hello.
I know, right? Yep.
Freaking kids, man. Okay, so I'm gonna do this crazy story. I heard this story a long time ago on My Favorite Murder, and something about this just stuck with me. Right? We all hear stories that kind of just stick with you, and this is an I Survived story. I love survivor stories, right? I think it really puts things into perspective, the things that we can overcome, the crazy things that people have gone through and have overcome. And I think that it's really, really inspiring. So this is a survivor story. She was on I Survived. My Favorite Murder covered it. Morbid podcast covered it. You can see things on YouTube about it. So you guys may have heard of this story before, but this is a true through and through bad ass. Okay?
Ooh,
She is a bad ass. And I think we should just give her lots of props and just be inspired by what she deals with to this day. So this is the story of Mary Vincent. Have you guys heard of Mary Vincent?
It rings a bell.
Maybe.
All right, y'all. You'll know who it is after this.
Oh, I think I know who it is. I think I know who it is. Oh, yeah.
This is a crazy, crazy story. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, this happens when Mary Vincent's 15 years old. This is taking place back in 1978 in Nevada. What? That's great
the year of my birth.
Yeah.
For once. Wow.
I know. I was like, oh.
I love it. I love it. It was a great year. Dre was born.
Yay.
We were in Nevada. So Mary Vincent's family is living in Las Vegas, and she loves to dance. She is a dancer. Her dance teachers think that she has a real gift and that, she absolutely go on and do something great with her dancing. Her parents, Herb and Lucy, were having kind of, some marriage issues at the time. They had 7 kids. They had a lot on their plate. And I think because of the discord between Herb and Lucy, Mary was feeling it and it really affected her. So, I mean, when you're 15 years old, life isn't, easy, but then your parents are kind of going through issues and she was really having a tough time and she starts skipping school. And one day she's at home. She's supposed to be at school, but she's at home and her sister lets her know, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. Dad's coming home. He has a migraine and he is mad at you. So he must have known that she was at home ditching. Okay. So Mary is like, oh, I need to get out of here. I don't want to deal with dad's wrath, right? I don't think there was any kind of abuse or anything like that. She was just 15 and didn't want to deal with it, right?
Right.
Right. So what does a 15-year-old girl do? They run away with their boyfriends, of course, because that makes sense, right? That's the great plan, right?
Yep.
Oh, gosh. So she did. She left with her boyfriend. They ran away to live in California. And for a while there, they were living in a car, which is awful. But that relationship didn't last. I know we're all shocked to hear this. And then Mary was on her own still, again, 15 in California on her own. And this was taking a toll on her. She didn't want to do this anymore. She started living with her uncle in Berkeley, California. Okay. By the end of summer, she was done with it. She wanted to go home, but she needed to get to her grandfather's house. So she was in Berkeley with her uncle. She needed to get to her grandfather's house, who lived in Corona, California. Okay. Just to give you an idea, that's going, way north.
Yeah.
Way
Super far.
south. Right. It's quite a ways. So what do kids in the 70s do to get places? Well, obviously they hitchhike.
They show their leg. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, show their leg, show that thumb. I would like to take a moment to let everyone know right now, in case you didn't know, hitchhiking is not a good idea ever. Okay? Don't pick up hitchhikers and don't hitchhike. Okay? Shit just goes down. Nobody ever hears good stories. Okay? So on September 29th, she was hitchhiking in Berkeley. She was kind of in a group of kids, and they would all hold up signs saying where they needed to go. Okay? So 2 days after Mary is last seen holding a sign looking for a ride, a couple on their honeymoon misses their exit somehow, right, in California. They get lost. They have to get on another road to find their way back. And in the middle of the road, they see Mary. They wrap her up in a blanket. They get her to an airport and a phone, right? Nobody has cell phones, of course. So they get to a payphone. Mary is naked, and when they find her, her arms are up in the air, and all she can say to this couple is, "He raped me." It's just awful. So they get her to the payphone. They call the police. The police show up. They get Mary to the hospital. And the reason why her arms were up in the air, it wasn't because she was trying to, wave someone down. Her arms had been cut off at the elbow.
Oh.
Okay. Let's all take a moment.
Jeez.
She's 15 years old. 15 years old. Arms have been cut off. The doctor says that she's lost half of the blood in her body. She's in shock. Her arms have been cut off, and she has broken ribs. She is not in good shape. Okay. So 10 days later, they get her stable, just to let you know what she's been through here. And they start fitting her for, prosthetics, right? She's interviewed by the police, and she is a badass. She is not afraid. She says, "I'm going to tell you everything I know and everything I remember." And she gives an incredible description of her attacker. And one thing about this story that is amazing too is Mary never calls him by his name. She always calls him her attacker. She doesn't want to give him power in that way. And she does. She gives this really specific description of him, and they do an incredible drawing. And so we'll talk about that later too. Okay. So she tells the police her story. She was hitchhiking along with other teenagers, holding the signs, looking for a way to get to where they were going. A man drove up in a blue van, and he looked like a grandpa to her, like a friendly grandpa.
Mm.
She said he looked at the kids and then looked at Mary and told her he could take her, but he didn't have room for the others in the van.
Oh, Jesus.
And
No.
right. And so she was like, that's really odd. He has this huge blue van and he's saying that he can just take me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the teens that she was standing there with, she said, hey, they were like, Mary, check it. Do not go with this person. Something is shady that he's being like this. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Mary got in the blue van. All right. So we all have those moments where that Jiminy Cricket, right? I call it Jiminy Cricket, tells you, yeah, don't do this. Don't do this. And she had that, but she got in the van. So she gets in, she's looking at him. He looks like a grandpa type, and it looks like he's wearing some kind of like mechanic uniform, like overall type thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're 15, everybody looks like a grandpa that's like, oh,
older.
yeah. Like
right?
everyone's super old.
Well, when you're 15, you think 25 is ancient.
I know.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm 37. I think 25 is a baby. So it's all about perspective.
Viewpoint totally changes.
That's right.
Poor Mary.
So she gets in the van. This is a heavier set guy. He looks a little bit older, but he tells Mary he has a daughter her age. And that kind of calmed her down, right? Because when we hear someone has a daughter, they're not going to hurt me, right? Because they wouldn't want someone to hurt their daughter, right? That's how our thinking is. So they're in the van. Mary lights up a cigarette because she's a hardcore 15-year-old, I guess. And she starts smoking the cigarette, but it caused her to like sneeze for some reason. I don't know. She sneezed. And he immediately like put his hand on the back of her neck and like pulled her close to him and said, let's see if you're sick. And it really freaked her out.
Oh, what?
Right? She wasn't having that. It really creeped her out. And so she like kind of pushed her body against the door to like be as far away from him as possible in the car, right? So then he says, actually, surprise, I'm not going south like you wanted. I'm going north.
Son of a bitch.
Right, dickhead. So he said, you know what? I will stop at this junction at the 5, and I'll let you out there. Okay, so it's out of your way, but that's where I'll take you. And Mary said, okay. She fell asleep.
Oh,
okay? She fell asleep.
Why? Oh, little girl, please.
When she woke up, it was dark outside, and like she could see like signs on the road, and she realized real quick they had really passed where he said he was going to drop her off, right? So that sickening feeling sits in, right? He's not doing what he said he was going to do. So she kind of like put her hands down like around her seat to see if she could feel anything sharp or like pointy to use as a weapon, right, to protect herself. And I guess she found some kind of like wooden pokey, almost like a measurement thing. I don't know the term for it, but that's what she kind of felt in her hands, okay? So she pulls this wooden pointy thing, because I'm a professional, that's what we're going to call it. And she points it at him, and she says, you better fucking turn around or I'm going to hurt you, right? She's freaked out. He turns around, okay? He turns around and he says, you know what? You don't need to worry. I'm an honest man and I made an honest mistake. I'm not going to hurt you, okay? So he's trying to disarm her, chill her out. So, of course, when you're 15 and you're freaked out, you want to believe that everything's going to be okay, right? So she really wants to believe this is all going to work out. So they're headed in the right direction, the direction he said he would take her. And then he says, you know what, I need to pull over. I need to, take a leak real quick. And so he pulls off into an isolated road. It's very secluded. He said he could not wait to go to the bathroom. And also, fun fact, this McFuckface has been drinking all day.
Oh,
so
great.
Drinking and driving with this teenager. So this, of course, made her nervous, right? But they pull over. He gets out to pee. She also hopped out to, stretch. They've been in this van for a long time. She notices her shoe is untied. She bends down to tie it. And just like in every fucking movie we've seen, she gets hit over the head with a rock. Okay. Knocked the fuck out. She is out. She wakes up and she's in the back of the blue van. She's tied up. Her hands are tied above her head, and then her feet are tied. Okay. So then she is sexually assaulted multiple times. Mary says it was between 6 to 8 times. And she said the entire time, every time it happened, it was extremely painful. It was awful for her. Okay.
Oh yeah,
terrible. She would ask him why, and he would not answer her. He fell asleep, and she tried to get out of the ties as best she could, but she couldn't get out of the ties. And she said that she got to the point where she asked God to kill her because she just couldn't take it. She just didn't think she could do it. This is a 15-year-old baby, okay? She's been through a lot. This is a lot to handle. So then McFuckface wakes up and decides to move the van somewhere else. So now they're changing locations, okay? He cuts her ties and he says, you need to do what I tell you to do, or I'm going to kill you, okay? That's what he's saying to her. He made her drink something, she thought it was alcohol, but then whatever was in this drink would make her pass out. Okay, so we don't know exactly what was in it. So she drank it. He rapes her again and again. And she doesn't say anything during this time because she doesn't know what he's going to do. Okay, she finally passes out, and she says that when she awakes, she sees the sun is rising. She says that when she wakes up, she realizes that this was not a nightmare, right? This is actually happening. And then the man tells her to get outside the van and lay down. So she's pleading with him to let her go, that she won't tell anyone, right? She's just saying anything she can. Please let me go. I won't tell anybody. He grabs something from the van, and she's not quite sure what it is. So he says to her, if you want to be free, I'll set you free. And then he starts chopping at her arms. She is trying to fight him as he is chopping at her. Okay, she kicks, she screams, she's trying to get away. And in one of these moments, he realizes at one point that her arm is still grabbed onto his arm, that it was detached from her, and it freaked him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes me mad.
This is something else, right? This is something else. So he cuts off her arms, and then she decides she's gonna play dead and stay still, right? She wants him to think she's dead.
Wow.
So apparently he thought she was dead, and he starts dragging her body, and I guess he dragged her body for a while. He lifted her up and threw her, and as she was falling, she heard him say, "You're free."
Oh, what a dick. Oh my God.
If that doesn't give you motherfucking chills up your body, I don't know what will. You're dead inside. We can't be friends. Okay?
Oh my God.
So she falls. This causes the broken ribs that she has. But it wasn't over, unfortunately. He climbs down to her, and then he like moves her body a little bit to like a darker area. He doesn't want the body to be found, right? And then he leaves. This motherfucking piece of shit. Okay.
Oh God.
Buckle up, y'all. We'll get through this.
Mm.
So Mary is bleeding. She's cold. She's frightened. And she is tired. When you've lost that kind of blood, right? You want to go to sleep. And she says that she feels so tired. She just wants to close her eyes. And she hears a voice. And this voice says to her, and I am not going to cry. This voice says to her, "Don't go to sleep. If you do, he will do this to someone else. You cannot let that happen."
Oh,
Wow. Wow. I know. Me too.
So Mary forced herself up. Okay. She is at the bottom of a 30-foot ravine. She has to climb out of this ravine. So what she does is she takes her arms, at what's left of them, and she puts them in the dirt, and she puts mud on them to cover it. And she starts climbing this ravine.
Oh no. So they're still kind of attached?
They're not attached. She's doing this with stumps. She's doing it with stumps.
So she put the mud to kind of like stop the bleeding, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
She said that at times while she was trying to climb this ravine, she could hear a car like here and there, and that would always give her hope that she wasn't that far from where a car would be. It took her hours and hours and hours to get up this ravine. Okay. She gets to the top. And she holds her arms above her head to try to stop bleeding, right? The best she can. She walks miles to get to a highway, right? She needs to flag down a car. She's naked. She's bloody. She's a wreck, right? She said she gets there, and a red convertible with a couple of men like slow down when they see her, but then when they get a good look at her, they just take off. They are freaked out.
Oh no.
Wow.
And she has this moment thinking, I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to live through this. I am not going to get help, right? And she says that she doesn't blame them, that she looked horrible, right? So then a couple that missed their exit comes out of nowhere. They see her and they save her life. They grab her, they wrap her up, and they get her help. So they're amazing. So the police are looking for her attacker, and Mary is learning to use these new prosthetics. And you'll see pictures. I'm sure Tima will find, pictures, but it's like a prosthetic and like a hook-like thing at the end, right?
Yeah,
so she's really learning how to use this. She feels angry and frustrated, of course she does. But she said that she had an absolutely amazing nurse that helped her through all of this, which nurses are just the best. So then Mary finds out that her attacker had been caught.
Thank God.
He was in San Pablo, California, and actually his neighbor, who was his friend, turned him in because they posted the sketch that she helped make on the news.
Bitch.
And he was
Yeah,
like,
baby.
oh shit, that's my neighbor. And
He has a blue
called and turned him crazy. So Larry Singleton is a 50-year-old McFuckface. He's an ex-merchant mariner. He's been all around the world, and he had been divorced twice. He was known to be a violent drunk, and he did have a daughter Mary's age. Her name is Deborah, and Deborah has her own story and journey with her dad. She has things to say about him. She just hates him and just sees him for what he is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they find, some like cigarette butts that belong to Mary, some clothing that belonged to Mary on Larry's property. Like he had been trying to burn and destroy any evidence, but he did not do a good job. They found it. Great. So then Larry had another home in Nevada, and at this home, they found the blue van. Okay. So it's all coming together here with evidence.
Mm-hmm.
With the blue van, the interior had been taken out. The van had been washed. The neighbor had helped him. The neighbor had no idea.
That's so crazy.
He said
he was
Larry
destroying evidence.
Yeah, he was destroying evidence. He had no idea. But Larry had asked for his help, so he helped him out. If I ever ask you to come over and clean out my car, some shit is up, okay? All right. But if y'all need me to do that, I'm a good friend. I'll do that for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
You know it. A few days after the attack happened on Mary, I guess Larry had taken a bunch of pills to try to kill himself, but he was terrible at it and he lived. So that's too bad. Larry denies everything, right? He says Mary, might have been in his van, but Mary was a $10 a night whore. So that's nice. That's real nice, Larry. He also said that it wasn't just Mary, that in the time that he picked up Mary, he also had picked up two people named, hold on to your butts here, Pedro and Larry. This motherfucker couldn't even get creative enough to think of another name. It's embarrassing. They were all gonna hang out and have fun together. They smoked at some bar, and then after they paid Mary for sex, and he said he fell asleep, and when he woke up, the other Larry was driving. It wasn't him, Larry, it was the other Larry. I know this is confusing and stupid, but hang in there. Okay. So he says Mary was gone, her clothing was there, and that Larry, the one that was driving now, said Mary had been sent to California. Okay. So Larry is a liar, if we can't.
Larry the liar.
Larry the liar. He then at one point said, because his stories were always changing, that Mary had actually kidnapped him. Mary kidnapped him. And
my God.
Yeah. And that she said she would accuse him of rape. Okay, so these are all the fun stories that Larry the liar was coming up with. So then 6 months later, they have a trial, which is incredible. 6 months.
It's pretty quick.
Super fast. We don't hear that usually in true crime world. It's usually 9 years later.
Right. Yeah.
Mary is a bad ass. At this trial, she testifies, and at one point, she stands up and she points her prosthetic arm at Larry and says, he's the one, he did it. Okay.
Oh, wow.
What a crazy moment for her.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to remind, she is 15 years old. She
Right.
is a baby. She has been through hell and back. And she is able to stand up and say, he's the one, he fucking did it. I think that's incredible. I really do. I think that's incredible. Okay, hold on.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So Larry gets, I hate this. Larry gets sentenced to 14 years. 14 years for rape and attempted murder and sex offenses. Because at the time, that was the max that California could give for these things.
That kills
14 years. I've heard of people with drug offenses with longer sentences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Or like
the judge,
writing bad checks or something.
right.
And the fact that they never spend their whole sentence in there, and it's usually half the time, that just boils my blood. God, what? So he served 7 years. How long was he actually in prison?
Hey, buckle up, because this story ain't over.
No,
this story is not over. The judge at the trial said, if I had the power, I would send him to prison for the rest of his natural life. Okay, the judge wanted to give him the max, maximum life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Mary later on actually has a civil case against Larry Singleton, and she wins $2 million. She's awarded $2 million, but he has no money. It's not like she's actually getting money from him. It was the point, right? So she does do this civil case. Because she is a young baby deer, she does have to go back to school and deal with teenager stuff. She has nightmares every night. She's going to therapy all the time. She says that she feels like a freak. She can't dance anymore. They had to take muscle out of her legs to put into her arms, and so she can't dance. And she was a dancer, and that's just another thing that fucking Larry did. Just so fucking awful. So, and because of everything that happened, it's like everyone knew who she was. It's not like she could go anywhere and have, no one say anything. Just this poor girl. Just so bad for her. Her parents do end up, getting a divorce. She does graduate high school, which is awesome. And then she goes around and she starts talking to teenagers about the dangers of hitchhiking. Don't do it. So she's really trying to be proactive and fantastic about all of this, okay? She ends up having a son, and then 2 years later, she has another son, and her boys live in California, where no one knows her, right? And so now it's 1988, and she actually says that she's quite happy, all right? Larry does try to appeal his conviction, but is denied. But 8 years into his sentence, he was released. He had good behavior in prison, so they let him go. And this was despite the fact that his therapist said he was an absolute threat to himself and others. They still released him. So what the fuck?
And this was in California?
California.
What the fuck, California?
Way to go, Callie.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty shitty about being a Cali girl right now. Okay. So Larry later decides to sue Mary for kidnapping.
What? Oh my God.
Somebody slap him.
Isn't he a piece of shit?
Yes.
Oh,
he said that he was in prison and he was kind of contemplating everything that happened. He decided, you know what? She did this to me. Oh, isn't
She
that nice,
chopped off her
Larry?
own arms.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a fucking victim.
All right.
All right, so here's the thing. He gets released, right? And then protests start happening. Every time the government tries to put him in a certain city, there's protests. Like shit goes down, and then he can't stay there. And this happens over and over and over again, which I fucking love, right?
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where they don't have a place where they can put Larry, and he has to be kept in a trailer at the prison until his parole is up. Piece of shit, dude.
Oh my God.
So then something comes out called the Singleton Law. So there's no early release for criminals who have tortured victims, and they can get 25 years to life. So that's great.
Hallelujah.
There's a change,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But of course, poor Mary is fucking terrified that Larry is out and about, right? She is terrified. She has 2 boys. And so like they go into hiding, right? She really tries to keep them safe. Larry goes to Florida because, Florida.
Oh, Jesus.
So he goes to Florida. He's hanging out with the Gators for about a year. And then, he gets caught stealing some shit, and he gets a 60-day sentence. And, his whole excuse with the judge is he's just a confused old man. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Yeah. I hate Larry. So then 7 years later, on February 19th, 1997, a house painter is outside. He's working, painting, doing what house painters do. And then he hears a noise, and it sounds like it's coming from, the house next door. And he thinks he hears someone say, help. Okay. So he goes over, he's looking at the house, and he sees a naked man choking a naked woman in a living room. Okay.
What?
Yeah. So on the 911 call, the caller says that he could hear bones being crushed.
Oh no.
Yes. So an officer knocks on the door, which is concerning to me. I don't know why an officer is knocking at this point, but an officer knocks on the door. A naked man opens the door, and he is standing there in all his glory, covered in blood in front of this officer.
Oh.
And he says to the officer that he was just cutting vegetables.
Okay.
And then the phone starts ringing inside, and he just turns around to go pick up the phone. Okay? Insanity, pure insanity happening right now.
A danger to himself.
Oh my God.
So then the officer looks over, and he sees a naked woman like sitting on the couch, but she's deceased. Her name is Roxanne Hayes. She's a mom. She has 3 kids. She's 31 years old, and she is a sex worker. And she has been stabbed repeatedly with a butcher knife. So not that long before the attack on Roxanne Hayes, the naked man had been found by neighbors trying to inhale car exhaust, trying to kill him, and the neighbors saved his ass. And then a few weeks later, this attack happens on Roxanne. And then when neighbors talk about it, now they're like, maybe we shouldn't have saved him.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, but
they
could have never known.
Yeah,
they would have never known that.
Right. You have no idea. Right.
Wow.
So with Mary, she said that she had survived. She went through everything she went through because she wanted to save others. She didn't want anything else to happen to others, but he still killed somebody else. Yeah. And what is absolutely terrifying is that when they had been at trial, when she was just a little baby deer, at the end of the trial, somehow she walked past Larry, and he said to her, I don't care if it takes my whole life, I'm going to finish the job.
Oh no.
So she has that always just like in the back of her mind. So now Larry has been out. He ends up killing somebody else. She has 2 boys and is completely freaked out. She tries to hide out all the time. At times she used, bodyguards. She's just she's just scared, right? As anyone would be.
Mm-hmm.
So Larry the liar tells police that he met Roxanne at a grocery store, and she just said, I'll go home with you for $20. I don't know how this exchange happens at a grocery store. Do you just walk up to ladies and say, are you a sex worker? I don't know how that works. I'm confused, Larry, but
there's a sex worker aisle at the
there
grocery
is.
store. Yeah.
Well, that's aisle 9. You're right. I should have known that.
Right.
Larry says that when they got to the house, Roxanne wanted more money, tried to take it out of his wallet. This created a fight. They're fighting. And somehow, all of a sudden, Roxanne has a knife from nowhere. And he took it from her and then stabbed her. So this is Larry's story. And of course, Larry's a liar and you can't believe anything he freaking says. So, of course, there's another trial. Okay. And Mary comes and testifies again.
Good girl.
At this trial.
Yes.
Think of how badass you have to be to go through everything she's gone through, and it's not over. You got to do it again. You got to see this guy again. It's fucking awful. Yeah. So Larry, thank goodness, is sentenced to death.
Good.
Okay? You're going to die, Larry. So now, at this time, Mary is such a badass. She figured out a way to do art with her prosthetic limbs and is now an artist. Which is fucking amazing.
Woo! Yes.
Mary also came out with her own female action figures. I just badass.
That's awesome.
To like level 10 badass, like amazing.
Yes.
Right? Fuck yeah,
we
you
need
should
one
have
of
a
these.
female action figure. Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. So 3 years into his prison sentence, Larry ends up dying of cancer, and he was 74 years old. So Larry died. Mary said that when her and her kids found out that Larry had died in prison, she was still really frustrated because she wanted to understand still why he did what he did. She still just couldn't wrap her mind around it. Right. But then she said that she saw like the relief on her boys' faces because they had all been scared for so long, and now for sure he was dead. And then she said, which is such a mom thing, that was enough for me, right? My kids felt better, so I'm gonna feel better. So Mary Vincent is a fucking badass, 100%. I just love what she's done after going through all of this, right?
Right.
Right.
Totally.
She prevailed.
Yeah.
She's an artist. She's got action figures now, and I just incredible woman, just incredible. So that's why I love this story, right?
Yeah.
She went through it, and I bow down, Mary. I bow down.
Yeah.
Bow down.
Really, really.
That's the story of Mary Vincent.
Yay. Wow. That's
so
that's
good.
So, yeah.
Woo.
It's bananas.
I'm gonna need a drink.
I've been drinking, honey. Okay.
I was really tired, and then that story woke me up, and I'm like, yeah, I need a drink.
I got chills like 20 different times, man.
Yes. Oh gosh. I remember the story, but I don't remember all those details.
Yeah, no, I remember the story too, but for some reason I thought her legs were cut off too. I don't know if that's a whole nother story or if I was just thinking that, but
just her arms. That was enough.
Yeah. That's bananas, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was super fucked, but she survived and she's prevailing and she's a badass. So I love Mary Vincent. Yes. Absolutely.
I can't fathom like putting my brain back to my 15-year-old self. Like, I'm just going to play dead.
Right.
I'm going to crawl up for hours. I I
Or
can't even
even
imagine.
putting the mud, like
Right.
knowing
Yeah.
that would be some type of like cover of her bleeding.
Mhm.
That's just like
And
so
it took
crazy.
her so long to climb up
Right.
that ravine. And she
Yeah.
said the entire time she was climbing, she did not pass out. She just kept going.
That's so crazy. She had an
Yeah.
angel
Mhm.
looking over her for sure.
Yes.
Real.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I have chills again. Oh God.
Yeah.
So incredible. I love, love, love survivor stories. If anyone has a
Mhm.
survivor story, send it to us because I fucking love them. Love it.
Yes. Oh, please.
Mm-mm-mm. Are we ready to buckle up for some paranormal with Timo?
Yeah. So
Ooh.
I'm going to talk about something that's very strange.
What? I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
Surprise!
Oh, are we mixing it up this week?
Yeah, we are. Well, we really are. So just wait. It may seem strange, it may seem bizarre, it may seem wackadoodle, but this was the thing to do back in this era. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to the 19th century,
Okay.
the Victorian era. Okay,
Yes.
so the Victorian era was 1837 to 1901. Okay, so just imagine this time, and we're basically going to be in Europe. We're basically going to be in the European cities, London, that area. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I got this whole story from a website that I love and adore. I get emails. I must get like 5 or 6 emails every month from them. It's called Graveyard Shift, and
Oh.
anything you want to know about anything paranormal, great reference, great reference. So this is titled The Morbid Victorian Era. Okay, now I'm going to hit some weird things. I'm going to hit some sad things. I'm going to hit some bizarre things. So just bear with me. This was what they did at the time, and this is the way they dealt with things. Okay. So it all started with the death of Queen Victoria's beloved husband, Prince Albert. His death was at 10:50 p.m. on Saturday, December 14th, 1861. She was absolutely devastated. So back in those days, wives mourn their husbands in a whole different way than what we do today. So basically, she wore black until the day she died in 1901. So basically, she was in a state of grief and a state of mourning until she died. Okay. So after this, because of Queen Victoria, death became an obsession, and she basically set the standard for which society handled their own mortality. Okay. Now, when I say they were obsessed with death, this is an understatement. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So at this time, they did not believe in purgatory. So there was either heaven or hell. That's it. No in between. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, there was lingering death. So basically, if someone was ill, or if you knew someone was close to death, that was the time to prepare them for what was next, the next world, wherever they were going to go, heaven or hell. So the Victorian era in England, they had this idea of a good death, okay, quote unquote. And this was about following a strict set of practices, which required extreme detail and a lot of money. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So if you failed to mourn properly, it was considered a societal and moral failure. There were no laws against this. So even if you didn't do it right, you weren't going to go to jail or get in trouble, but you were basically frowned upon by society. Okay. So this was basically something that you felt like you had to do no matter what. Okay. So back in the Victorian era, the mortality rate was really, really, really high. Now, we all know back in those days, people didn't live, okay? So basically, the average age of a male during this time was 40 years old,
Oh,
and the
wow.
average age of a woman was 42. So basically that was like today's time, which is like
Isn't that
in the
crazy
70s. It
to
is so
think about?
crazy. Yeah, it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lived past 40, you were like considered like, wow, like you were like a
Damn, you
miracle.
ancient.
Yeah.
You crazy, man.
And then the mortality rate among children was 50%. So 50% children, yeah.
I
And
hate that.
okay. So the common
Ugh.
causes of death in the Victorian era was tuberculosis, cholera, dysentery, typhoid, scarlet fever. And then like in like the big cities, overcrowding and poor sanitation caused major bacteria and people died of that. And then 1 out of 150 women died during childbirth. So every 150 women, 1 died in childbirth, but that fluctuated as well too. So
what a terrible time to be alive, and what a terrible time to or terrible deaths to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Dysentery, I don't want to die of dysentery.
I know,
you know
right?
what I mean?
Yeah,
that's awful.
Yeah.
No wonder there's so many ghosts from this age. They're all pissed.
Exactly. Yeah,
and not to mention
horrible
dealing with periods during this time.
This is an issue that Red brings up every time we talk about.
That sounds awful. Well, you know why? I have PCOS, and it's terrible for me now. And so I always think about the way it would be back then, how I should be grateful at least for what I have now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you could basically wear like a friggin' wool coat under there. No one could tell because you were wearing like these like layers and layers of shit. You know what I mean?
And you
can wear like a shower a week. A shower a week. Nobody's brushing them teeth. It's just
think
so
of the
gross,
smell.
man.
Oh,
so smelly.
But you know, everybody smelled. Everybody smelled.
Right.
So it was just like whatever. So okay.
So gross, man.
So they had something called Victorian morning etiquette. Morning as in you're grieving, not like morning time. Okay.
Good morning.
And I know you guys are gonna find this like super, super weird and unusual, but women took the brunt of it. Really?
What? I'm shocked.
Yeah, what?
What?
Yeah.
Women had to take on more than
I know, right?
men did? You know what? I am shocked.
Okay. So, widows were required to mourn their husbands for 2 years. Okay. So
required. But if you really loved your hubby, I mean, well, maybe 3.
Yeah. It's just not being sad. There's a whole list of shit you had to do. Okay. So basically you had to wear your black for 2 years. And you were also isolated from society. So you could not visit people. You could not have visitors. You could not do the theater. You could not do
Isn't that awful? Because when you're mourning, you need that support. You need your friends and family and to take things off your mourning, right?
Right. But if you think about it too, like death was so common. Like death, like they thought of death in a whole different way back then. And I'm sure if you loved your husband or whatever, I'm sure you'd be sad, but it was, I'm going to get into more of that, more detail of that, but it was thought of in a different way than what we think of death today. Okay. So there were death traditions created. So we might think that some of these traditions are odd and weird, but back in those days, they made perfect sense to them. So number 1 was as soon as the person died, and everybody died in the home, like nobody died in the hospital.
Right.
If you were sick and you went to the hospital and you were going to die, they'd bring you home and you die in the home. Okay. So you need to cover all the mirrors. So every single mirror in the home needed to be covered. And even the family portraits were taken down or pictures were flipped over down. So the reason why, number 1, the mirrors, they thought that the soul would get trapped in the mirror and they wouldn't be able to pass on to the next life. And also they didn't want other family members having any type of vanity while someone was dead. So they didn't want anybody else looking at themselves in the mirror.
Interesting.
And then regarding the pictures, they were afraid that the deceased person would then possess the living.
Oh, okay. So that's why
wow.
they did the portraits. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure about that.
Yeah, that's so crazy to me. Okay. So then there was also jewelry that was made specifically for someone that was dead. They would use their hair and they would make jewelry, and this is what the mourners would wear. Yeah.
What?
Yes. And
The mourners would wear their hair?
Would wear jewelry made out of hair.
Ew.
Mostly the family members.
I'm not digging that. I'm not into it.
And there's some other neat little things, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But in okay, this is, I know you guys know about this, and I've been obsessed with this forever, and it's so morbid and so just bananas. Everyone's going to think I'm weird, but I'm totally obsessed with this. Okay, so in 1839, Louis-Jacques Monde Dacquerre invented post-mortem photography. Okay. This was a practice of posing the deceased person in a realistic setting that reflected either their job or with their children or with their family members, with their siblings, in case of children, with their toys, or like they were sleeping in peace. Okay.
So I just can't get into it, man. Think about how traumatizing that would be, like for kids to have to take a photo next to dead dad.
Buckle up. Wait till I tell you. Wait.
You know, wait a minute. Somebody did this recently. There was like a guy.
Recently?
Yeah, I saw this in the news where like they had the guy standing like with a cigarette in his hand, and then he was like standing up, like leaning on something, and they had him like chilling at a party, and like all his friends were there,
like weekend at Bernie's.
Like but I mean, he was like standing dead pose, like it was.
If you look it up, you can see the modern ones. Like there was this family where their son,
oh my God,
rode a motorcycle, like the crotch rocket type of motorcycle, and he was killed, and they put him on. They had the funeral, and they had him on his motorcycle.
Oh wow!
In the corner, like, hey. Yeah.
I would like to be posed fishing at Virginia Lake. Write that down.
Okay.
Where would you guys like to have your pose done? What pose would you want?
Oh God, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I want to answer.
What?
No, I want to be wearing like a Marilyn Monroe dress and my boobs up in my face.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that you want that when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Timo.
Yeah,
what
I
about
don't know.
You podcasting? You're sitting there editing.
You haven't thought about this?
With your
no.
You're obsessed.
I know,
yeah, no.
This is crazy. You talked about these photos, right? It's interesting. Yeah. There's got to be something.
They do take pictures of people in their coffin, like so maybe like dressed like Victorian age.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be super cool.
Like in like the triangular shaped coffin, not like a casket like today's casket, but like I think that would be cool. Okay.
That's creepy.
So they had special stands with clamps that they would like hook the dead up to so that they can stand and pose and stuff. Like this was like serious business, you guys.
Right.
And then buckle up. So they wanted them to look alive, right? They wanted them to look like how they looked when they were alive, and sometimes they couldn't. So what they would do is their eyes would be closed, but then they would paint eyes. And so it looked like their eyes were open in the picture, but it was painted on.
At some point, one guy said, okay, hear me out. I have an idea. I think we should paint the eyes on. I think it's going to look realistic. People are going to love it. And then somebody else said, okay, let's do that. So insane.
Well, when you look at these pictures, like I told you, I'm obsessed with these. So like I will look real close and I'm like, okay, is that a real eye or is that a painted eye? I don't really see many that are painted on that you can tell. So they might have done a really, really good job. I don't know.
Good artists.
Okay. So so back then photography was like brand new and it was very, very expensive. So sadly, most of the time this was the only picture that they had of their loved one.
Oh,
Was
is
their
their
post
dead
was their
photo?
post-mortem picture. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
Man, this is a bummer.
All right. So this is really sad. So grieving parents would create lifelike dolls that were like versions of their child because the if you lived past 5, you were considered like in that 50%
Oh
percentile.
my God.
So 5 was like the
awful.
yeah. So children just passed away at like
So
5.
kids, I mean, like parents are walking around, look at my 6-year-old. Look at my robust 6-year-old surviving.
Yeah,
it's
right.
so crazy.
Proud.
Yeah.
Very proud.
So these dolls were called mourning or grave dolls, and they were so realistic. They were made out of wax. They were dressed in the deceased child's clothing,
Oh
and
my.
they even were made with the child's hair. Well, the bodies were filled with sand, and it would give them like lifelike weight. And they were placed in miniature coffins and placed at the child's gravesite, but some families chose to keep them in the home and display them. That's
This
what
is
they did.
very interesting.
Yeah, that's how they grieved back in those days. That's what they did.
Part of me, of course, understands wanting to maybe have something to like hold on to, of course. But
right.
this is like next level. That's a lot. That's
yeah.
a lot.
So in the Encyclopedia of Children and Childhood in History and Society, basically it states that these macabre customs were taught to a child at a very, very young age. By the 1870s, death kits were available for dolls, complete with coffins and mourning clothes. So basically like your American dolls that we have now with like the little accessories. Basically they had death kits so that the little girls could like learn and train themselves how to mourn and all that for the future.
To prepare for all their children dying in the future. That is so sad. Oh
I know, it's so horrible. And these dolls were called funerary dolls. So
what?
I know, it's so crazy. Okay.
Well, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas is a death doll kit.
They still make them.
God. I mean, if they had ones for Barbies,
gosh.
I might take it.
Yeah.
I love
Barbies?
Yeah. Okay, and also families just had many books and pictures around that geared towards children to imprint them with the duties of families during the time of grief. So it was just imprinted on them. Like that was just something that they're just taught, and they were just, that's what I'm saying, why they were obsessed with death. Like death was just a part of life. We all know that, but we put it on the back burner. We don't want to think about it. But this was something that was just like, what's for dinner? Let's talk about death, you know?
It's because death was happening so much more than what happens for us in this day and age. So I guess that's how it is.
Okay, so taphophobia. Taphophobia is the fear of being buried alive. And people went crazy over this shit, okay? And the reason why they went crazy for this is because basically medicine at this time was just experimentation. They didn't know what caused certain deaths. They didn't understand diseases. And a person could basically go into like a vegetative state, like a coma, and they would think that they were dead and they would bury them. And then several days later, they'd wake up and they would be buried.
This just happened a couple weeks ago. Did you hear about this?
No.
Yeah, some like young 20-something girl like died, and coroner came. She's dead. They took her in. She wakes up in the coroner's
in the freezer thing.
No, she wasn't in the freezer, but she
Oh.
woke up. They thought she was dead and everything.
Oh my
Wow, that's
God.
crazy.
So guess what they did? They created something called safety coffins. Okay. So what these safety coffins were is they would put a ring on the dead person and have a string tied to it. The string would go through the coffin all the way up to the dirt, up to the tombstone, and then attached to the tombstone was a bell. So if the person woke up, it would ring the bell, and then the grave digger or somebody would be like, oh, there's a
What
live
if nobody
someone's
was
alive.
there? Like, what if nobody was working that day? Oh my God, it's awful.
And then a doctor named Timothy Clark Smith was like so afraid that this would happen to him that he designed a 14 by 14 glass window that looked down a shaft down into the coffin, so you could just look down and see if the person was like alive or not.
So you could watch them decomposing.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Oh.
But you know what? There is a very popular, I don't know where it is, but this woman's child passed away, her daughter passed away, and she buried her, and then she built like a staircase that went down underground, and then there was like a glass like viewing window,
Oh my gosh.
so that she could see in case if her daughter came alive that she would
A mother's love.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
And then they also had a coffin where they put like a breathing tube down so that
I
if
was gonna
someone woke
say,
up-
like,
yeah, like kind of like a scuba diving.
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah,
my
because
God.
even if you're like alive when they bury you, being down in the ground, you only have so much air, and then you're done. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Awful.
Okay, so let's talk about these this jewelry with the hair. It was called memento mori, and that means remember that you have to die. Bizarre.
What?
Oh.
Yeah. So
who decided on that name?
I don't know.
They
But
should revisit it.
So they would take the hair of the dead loved ones and they would make masks, paintings, sculptures, and jewelries. Jewelry was like the main thing that they would make. They would make bracelets, they would make barrettes, brooches, rings. And the way they made these were so crazy. They're so tightly woven, and you think that there'd be like little pieces of this and that, whatever. No, they're like perfect. It's so crazy.
Well, what else do they have to do? There's no TV. There's no social media.
Yeah.
All they have to do is make mourning jewelry.
Ugh. Oh.
That shit better be tight.
Okay. But the thing is that when you were in your mourning period, you weren't allowed to wear this jewelry. So you had to wait like a year or two before you could wear it, which was whatever.
And so then, you had 2 years to perfect the jewelry also.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys know what shadow boxes are, right? So there's this thing that was very popular in households during this time where it was like some type of sculpture in the shadow box, and it was completely made out of hair, and it would be generations and generations of your family's hair, and it kind of served as like a family tree. And it was like the way to keep the family together forever and ever and ever. And hair doesn't decay like body does. I mean, it decays very, very slowly. So some of these museums that have these wreaths, they're like 200 years old and they're still perfect. And they're crazy. I mean, they're so elaborate and they're all made out of hair. It's so crazy. So what they would do is the next family member that would die, they'd take it down, they'd take the hair, they'd add in the hair, and then they'd hang it back up. So there's something called resurrection men. And I know you guys have heard this too. So the medical field was in such desperate need to understand illnesses and causes of death that cadavers were like on high demand. So basically what these resurrection men were they were grave robbers, and they would go and dig up the bodies, and then they would sell them to the medical schools for a lot of money, right? And they were
Remember,
never
H.H. Holmes
Yep,
sold bodies all the time for
Yep.
medical schools.
They would never ask where they came from or whatever. So during this time, people's religious beliefs were that if the deceased body was altered in any way after death, that it would give them negative consequences on their spirit. So they did so many different things to prevent the body from being dug up and taken, right?
Yeah.
So the wealthy built mausoleums and vaults, or encased the grave sites with iron, like in, like little designs and everything with like wrought iron and all beautiful stuff. And this basically kept the body snatchers, is what they were called, too, away from digging them up. And they would do weird stuff, like they would like go from the head under and do all these tunnels so that it wouldn't look like someone dug up the entire grave. So they were really sneaky about it too.
Oh, wow.
The poor would place rocks or flowers on the grave in a certain design. So basically they could detect if there was any type of movement in the soil. Or they would take stones, or not stones, sticks and like, like branches and stuff, and they would kind of like weave them in and out under the dirt so that it would make it difficult for them to tunnel in. And
this reminds me of my sister Stephanie, who is probably listening. She had like the best shampoo and conditioner when we were teenagers growing up, and my hair was everything, and I would use it. And then she once put her hair in a certain way on the shampoo and conditioner bottles to see if I was using it. What a dick.
I feel like that would be like something I would do.
That's why she loves true crime. That's why she's my true crime homie. She caught me.
That is hilarious. They do that too, though, if like in like the detective shows and stuff, like they put like something in the door so that you can
she was ahead of her time.
Yeah.
For real. I would always just look at like, okay, where on the letters did I finish my shampoo or whatever?
What letter was this on?
What letter was it? Wait a minute.
M. I love it.
All the way down at the UPC label, damn it.
Oh my goodness.
I measured this.
I know people that have done that with their alcohol so that they would know if their kids were stealing their alcohol.
Oh, yeah. Teenagers.
Yeah. Okay. So even family members would take shifts in guarding the grave at night to make sure that no one would come and take the bodies. And you only had to do it. You only had to do it for a little while, because once it started decaying, then they wouldn't
want
anymore.
it.
Yeah. And sometimes they built these metal cages on top of the grave to keep people out, but also to keep the dead in, such as the undead. So they had this widespread fear that bodies would reanimate and come out and be either vampires or zombies. So
I get it.
There's a lot of,
I can see that,
these Victorian era, like real elaborate cages that they built because they wanted to keep, if their loved one turned into a vampire, it wouldn't be able to escape. Yeah, it wouldn't be able to escape and start killing people. I love that story. I love that.
Oh, that is so crazy.
Okay, so elaborate funerals were not only a duty, but it was an unspoken competition among the prominent families in Victorian society.
And it's like having a bar mitzvah, right? Who has the best bar mitzvah?
It's so crazy, right? So there was something called mutes. And mutes were professional mourners that people would hire just so that you would have like the huge capacity of people at these funerals, and they were paid to be like grief-stricken and crying and whatever, right? And isn't that crazy? And then
I hope my family doesn't have to pay mutes to come to my funeral to look like I had friends.
You know Oliver Twist from Charles Dickens? Okay, well, he was a mute, and he was hired to attend children's funerals. Isn't that crazy?
So crazy.
I love it. Fun fact of the day.
Fun fact. I have a couple other fun facts that are pretty fun too. So basically, these mutes provided a sense of dignity to the services while also allowing the family to keep the stiff appearance of grieving, but they were also like in the back of their minds like, look at this turnout, this is big, man.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
And then despite the great emphasis on grief, it was still considered no bueno to cry in public, particularly loudly in public. So basically nobody cried back in those days. Like it was like really crazy.
Like they were already dead inside.
Right. But they would take what they called mourning pictures. So like while they were taking pictures of the dead, they would also take pictures of the women with handkerchiefs in their face, like they were crying. And that was like the big thing to do too, is just to show people mourning. And they put them in like albums, like wedding albums, but they were like funeral albums. It's
OMG. Who came up with these rules?
I don't know.
Some
I feel
crazy
like
people.
there's a lot of people that do this on social media.
Yeah.
You know?
It's still
Look what I'm eating.
today. Yes,
Look what I'm eating today. I went to the gym.
Yes.
Oh, look, I'm at a funeral.
Yes, yes.
Or the 100 million selfies they take of themselves.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so on the anniversary of the person's death, they would go and have a picnic at the cemetery.
Okay.
Okay, so
it's a great day for a picnic.
Yeah, they would sit around the gravestone and they would do this on the anniversary, their birthday, on holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas. And when you think about how horrible, like let's say London was during this time, the air was just so bad with coal dust and coal smoke. It was overcrowded. There was such bad sanitation. Cemeteries were like out of the city and they were clean and green and beautiful.
Okay.
So basically it was like a way to get away and just like enjoy a Sunday afternoon, I guess.
So it was a nice, nice thing to do.
You know, people do this, right? A lot. Like you go to any cemetery, they do this a lot.
Well, remember
like,
when
I know
we
people
went?
That do this.
Remember when we went for my birthday?
Yeah.
There were people out there like hanging out, drinking beers and eating and barbecuing or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
So my in-laws actually decorate the gravestones of their loved ones every holiday pretty much. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. If they can't make it, then they ask us to go and we'll go do it, you know.
Oh, let's have a picnic at a graveside. That sounds lovely.
Like we take like gardening shears and water and scrub like soap and stuff to like clean the tombstone. You know, so it's like a whole thing. But yeah, we'll go. We probably don't eat there, but we'll eat like immediately after. You know.
That's nice. I like that.
Now we're gonna get into the fun stuff, you guys. Mourning clothing. Okay, this was a big deal. Okay. So the first year that a woman was mourning, it was called full mourning. She wore black and just black. She also wore a bonnet with a black veil. For the first 3 months, that veil had to be in front of her face at all times.
Like always?
Always.
For the first 3 months?
For the first 3 months. And then after the 3 months, she still had to wear it, but it could be pushed back, and that was worn for the remainder of the 2 years of her mourning period. Okay. So the second year was called half mourning, and half mourning basically was they could introduce color back into their wardrobe, but it had to be like your dark colors. So it had to be gray and mauve and like dark purples and like dark blues. It couldn't be anything like bright, like yellow or pink or anything like that.
This basically just sounds like my wardrobe,
right?
For my entire life.
I have to force myself to buy color. The only reason I'm wearing orange is because we were supposed to dress like a rainbow at work, and I was like, I gotta find a color. Yeah.
You were orange. I wear a lot of black.
Okay, so if you were mourning your husband, you had to do it for 2 years. If a man was mourning his wife, he only had to do it for 1 year. Okay.
Bullshit.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, he needed to get, get things going, get his life moving.
Buckle up, just wait, okay? So a child mourning their parent or the other way around, it was either 1 year to 18 months. If the child was under 10, it would be 6 months. And if it was an infant, it'd only be 6 weeks.
What? 6 weeks for an infant?
But it's
not
like
2 years for a husband.
Yeah, it's not like your lifelong grief or your lifelong, it was like in the clothing, in being secluded in that whole situation. Okay. Siblings were 8 to 6 months. Uncles, aunts, cousins were 3 to 6 months. And you had to mourn your friends for 3 weeks. Okay. But you also had say-so about the mourning period. So if you were very, very vain and you wanted your friends to mourn you for 5 months, your friends had to do it.
Oh, I would so do that.
I know.
Fun with everyone's lives. I said 18 months for all of you.
And then friends had to
lit up the room.
Friends had to do something else too. So just wait. All right. So you could not reuse your mourning clothing. So basically, as soon as you were done mourning, they had to be destroyed. So what happened?
Mourning clothes with every mourning?
Every death, you had to have new mourning clothes. Okay.
Dang. That's just a.
So what if someone died like right in the middle of your mourning period? You couldn't use those clothes to mourn that person, so you had to go buy new clothes.
So there was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
There were these stores, they were called mourning warehouses, where you could go in and buy mourning clothes.
Do you need mourning clothes? I like your mourning clothes.
Yes, yeah. And then like the big department stores had mourning clothes departments. It's like, what's your like juniors department? What's your mourning clothes department? And then I know. And then if you were poor and you couldn't afford new mourning clothes, you were forced to dye your regular clothes and wear them.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that sad?
This is ridiculous. Someone just came up with this shit and then everyone had to just put up with it because of social pressure. And I am not about it.
Right.
So, okay, here's the thing though. If you wear black all the time, that's not your morning clothes, that's your regular clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I agree.
Some women did though. Some women wore black for the rest of their lives if their husband died. So it was just part of their clothing.
Would. If my hubby died, I'd always wear black. Forever.
Okay. In the Victorian era, funerals were expected to be long, elaborate, and a public process. It required a director. Black horses. If you couldn't find black horses, you had to dye the fucking horses black.
Oh, come on.
There was a hearse, huge floral displays, invitations, pallbearers, mutes, your professional mourners, photographs, and large feasts. Okay. So these were basically like weddings.
Big ass parties, yeah.
The lower class families would set aside funds for the impending funerals of their family members. And many of the times they refused to dip into these funds if daily necessities were needed. So basically they would starve, then dip into the funeral funds. This is bananas, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they would die of starvation.
Yeah. Basically.
Well, thank goodness they have the funds to cover their funeral then.
Right. Right. And then they would have these huge processions and it was just like a parade walking down the street. And you know what's so weird is they do that in New Orleans still. So like they do like funerals down the streets. They do procession lines all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So during the time that I'm jumping around, but that's how my notes are. So sorry. So a person dies in the home. Okay. That body cannot be left alone for 1 second. Until it's taken away and buried. So they don't want the family to have to deal with that. So your friends would come in. So your friends would basically sit with you the whole entire time until you were taken away. They would put wet wool on your eyes to make sure that your eyes stayed shut until rigor mortis set in. They would tie a scarf under your chin and up to your head so that it would keep your mouth shut. And then they sponge bathe you.
No, thank you. Don't sign me up to sponge bathe any dead body. Gross. That is so grody. I am not about it.
Yeah, so great.
You know, when people die in the nursing homes, they have to give them a sponge bath after they pass.
Yeah, why is that? Because they soil themselves, I guess, right?
I think, yeah, it's just
well,
like
everybody soils themselves. That's not just a senior thing.
You know, I think it's just like a matter of respect and like, you know, for the family too, because once they take all the tubes and stuff out, they want the body clean for the family to come pay respects. So it's just a thing they do.
Alrighty. So so they had the pictures. They would also take pictures of like the grieving mourners, flowers. This was later on, towards the end of the era where photography became more popular and a lot less expensive. So basically, like I said, they would put all these pictures in like a photo album. So like how you would take pictures of the cake, the meal, the flowers for your wedding album. They did that for the funerals.
Is crazy. Insanity.
Okay. So when the body was taken out of the house, they had to make sure that it was taken out feet first. And the reason why is because they did not want the deceased person looking at the house as they took them out, because they didn't want them coming back to haunt the home, and they would know where to come.
What if somebody forgot that step?
I know,
and then it just drove them nuts forever, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
And then the procession, they would take the long way around so that the person would know how to get back to the house.
They would get confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
No Google Maps. How do I get back home?
It'll never work.
All right. At the time of passing, all the clocks were stopped at the exact time that the person that passed away. And the reason why they did that was because they didn't want the spirit to remain in the present time to haunt or endlessly roam in between heaven and hell. And then only after the dead was laid to rest in the ground was the clock restarted. But if it was the head of the house, that clock was never restarted ever again.
Oh, wow.
What a pain in the ass. They don't have like time on a cell phone. How the fuck do they know what time it is if the clocks are stopped forever?
Gotta ask your neighbor.
Ew. Now you have to talk to your neighbor? This whole thing is ridiculous.
All right. So I'm going to talk about a couple fun facts for you guys. Okay. So the first fun fact is, you know how places are called funeral parlors? So the reason why those are called that is because the parlor in the home was used for all like the major things like weddings and baptisms and funerals. So basically the body would stay in state in their parlor. And so that's where that fun little name came into. And I think you guys might know this too, graveyards versus cemeteries. Do you know the difference between the two?
No.
Okay, so graveyard was basically in the churchyard. Cemeteries are out of the city. So basically, all they had were graveyards back then. But then, as the cities grew, they ran out of space, so they couldn't bury them in town anymore. So they went out of town and they built these huge, like park-like cemeteries where they had tons of room for people to get buried.
Picnic.
So yeah, to picnic too. Yeah. So what do you think the rules of remarrying were for men versus women?
Women can't remarry, and men can remarry after a year.
No. So a woman had to wait 2.5 years to remarry. Out of respect for the dead wife, a man could remarry in 2 weeks.
What the? Good luck with that.
Are you freaking kidding me, dude? Women do all the shit. We do all the things. We're so awesome in every single way. 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
2
then
weeks.
guess what? So a man had to mourn his wife for a year, right? So in 2 weeks, he marries his new wife. And guess what that new wife needs to do? She needs to put on the black, and she needs to mourn the dead wife for the remaining of the year.
I'm not gonna be that
Isn't
girl.
that
not happening.
cool?
I'm not down.
Yeah.
Not into it.
Yeah. No.
Here's the thing. If my husband gets married after 2 years, he's gonna have a haunted bitch following.
You like how I'm haunting you now?
You go ahead and get married.
Yeah.
No, I want him to be happy. I want him to get remarried. I don't want it to happen right away.
Right. Right.
Give me my due time, okay? I earned that.
Hell yeah.
There was a way around for the women if they were poor and they had children and they needed to have a husband to basically support them, then that wasn't frowned upon. Or if a husband was like missing and never found, they were allowed to remarry more quickly than that. So that was the way around
all
things.
these rules. They don't make
All right,
sense.
Carol.
Yeah.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. So I wanted to end with this. So as morbid as Victorian mourning and mourning etiquette may seem, some of these rituals are still around today in one form or another. So basically when we have open caskets, that's kind of like the same thing as the postmortem pictures.
Right.
Like I said, in New Orleans, there's still the processions going on. We still do elaborate flowers and stuff like that. We do the big meals after the funeral. The hearses are still a thing. And I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else, but basically, in every, we still wear black. Sometimes,
That's true.
We choose not to do black. I had a friend pass away a couple years ago, and he was a very big sports fan. So we all wore our jerseys to the funeral. So, that was fun. So, yeah.
I kind of like that.
There you go. I'm sorry I brought up this sad and depressing thing, but I wanted to get away from the whole ghost scary
Your
haunted
funeral
house thing.
facts did not freak me out or make me sad in every way. It's so ridiculous to think about what women went through, again, with the periods, with pregnancy. You could die.
You could die.
Giving birth. Your babies that you went through everything for then could die, right? And then you're cleaning the clothes, you're cooking the food, you're taking care of your man. And then he has to wait 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2 weeks?
That's it.
2 weeks.
Oh,
just give me a
filling me
little
with
more,
rage.
guys.
Honestly,
Give me a little more.
I'm not about this life. I like my life.
Yeah.
Way better. Way better. Well, it was a lot of fun facts. I think the dead photos is crazy town.
Check them out, though.
But
check them out.
I will.
Just for shits and giggles. They're so weird, but they're so cool too. But
Timo, I want to challenge you, and I want you to think about your dead post.
All right.
Because surprise, we're gonna do it.
I already
we'll
told you.
Post it on the Instagram.
Victorian Gothic vampire in a casket.
It's perfect. Mwah. Perfect.
Okay, if I were to Google this so I could look at the pictures, what would I Google?
Postmortem photography.
Photo?
Or death photos. Oh no, not death photos. You'll get like modern day. You'll get modern day, like postmortem, like Victorian postmortem.
I found
pictures.
It. All right.
Yeah.
I got it. Got it. All right.
She's about to go down the rabbit hole with that shit.
I will.
All right. Are you ready?
Woo!
For the best story of the week. We sound amazing. Let's do it.
You guys, I am in love with this story, and you guys probably have heard of it because it is a local story. You might not guess what it is. It just it came across my feed maybe about a week ago, and I'm just in love with it because I feel like, especially Red, we were at this game. We were hanging out and watching our boys play, and they had announced that there was a player on the Valencia team
Yes. Oh my
had
goodness. Yes.
leukemia, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
So we're talking about Mr. Pedro Javi, who had leukemia, and he was actually doing really well. This was like in September of 2019, during the before times when life was so good and we had football, and oh my God, I miss football so much. So this poor boy, he was 15 at the time. He's 16 now. He was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And he was on treatment, right? They had a GoFundMe. You guys, our community is amazing.
Yes.
They raised $36,000 for this family, because it's just not cheap, okay? You know, he was doing okay, and then suddenly he wasn't. So in like August of this year, treatment started to fail. They went, remember how I did my bone marrow?
Yeah.
And they went and they looked for people who might be a match. They reached out to the community and everybody in our valley and beyond. When there were so many people that actually signed up because of this young boy.
Yes, I sent in my Be the Match kit because of it.
Yeah, because of Javi, right?
Yes.
So many people had their eyes open to just be the match and donating bone marrow. And it was funny because I actually had quite a few people. I think I might have messaged or said something like, I donated bone marrow. It's, you know, it's definitely wonderful. Do it. And people actually messaged me for him, asking like what the procedure was like. You know, they were like afraid. So it was just like a quick, you know, like information. I actually routed them to our page.
Oh my
on there.
goodness.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it was great. They unfortunately were not able to find a match for him within the family, which was like so heartbreaking, you know. So anyway, so the community went ahead and they like, people were signing up and everything. And then lo and behold, we have the best, most awesome little badass in the world. His little sister Aria.
Yay!
Wow, she's only 7 years old.
7.
And she is a match. Holy cow, guys.
Yes.
You guys remember how much pain I was in?
Yes.
Right. So Dre, they didn't test her in the beginning because like none of the family was a match, and then did she decide to get tested after that, or how did that work?
So there's two factors, I think, because there's really nothing out there. You can't even, the only reason that I even know her name is because her mom posted about her. But
no,
she's
I remember
not in the
story, and I was wondering that. Yeah.
Yeah, so my guess are two things. One is because the parents are not a match, they were just like, okay, well, we probably wouldn't, she wouldn't be. But secondly, she's very young. They asked that bone marrow donors be 18 and older. So I don't even think she was like an option. And I'm going to tell you guys, there was like a young girl next to me, like maybe in her early 20s, who was like maybe 115 pounds. You know, I'm a big mama, girl. I donated my 370 million stem cells like in my 4 hours, and I was up and out of there. It was painful. The process sucked, but I managed to do it in one sitting, right? This girl had to come back for 2 days.
Oh man.
Because she was so little. So I don't know how little Ari is gonna do it. But she is a badass in my eyes, you guys. She is just everything. I want to like hug and squeeze her. I know that she loves her brother. You guys, she's an amazing girl. You know, you can see their relationship. Their photos are so cute. And I know she would do anything for her brother, you know, just like I know like my kids would do anything for each other.
Of course. Of course. You're such a mom, Jay. I bet you kept their vocal cords and everything.
Yeah. But
I think this is an incredible story. It really is.
Yeah, she's just a little badass, and I just want to buy her everything.
You know, hopefully they might be able to like maybe sedate her or put her in Twilight or something, maybe, so that she's just more relaxed and she can get through it and save her brother. So that's so sweet.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I know our you know, hometown station does really good stories and like stuff like this. they haven't said anything, and they did a really good story about the football team in Valencia actually shaving their heads in solidarity for him.
Mm-hmm.
Super like amazing, and he's such a good kid. You know, I know one of our friends' sons is like best friends with him, so I really hope that, you know, he pulls through. It's a journey, and it's just started. It's just the beginning. I know it's not going to be easy. I haven't heard from my bone marrow match yet, because I know like the first year getting a bone marrow transplant is really hard on the person getting the bone marrow. So I just pray that, you know, he makes it out okay, and
yes,
you know, and she does too. Our little
Yes.
badass of the week.
She is a badass of
Yeah.
the week. Yay! Good job. Good job, Aria.
Yes.
Littlest little badass ever. So cute, so little. Good job.
She's so
Good job,
cute
Dre.
too, yeah.
Yeah, she is super cute. Aww. All right, y'all. Okay, so we love messages. So check out our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, website.
Yeah. Are you guys liking the TikTok videos that I'm doing?
Yes.
Like, let us
they're
know.
so
having
good.
fun with it.
Yeah,
You're
you know,
having
like
fun with it.
I used to do these little collages, but then, you know, TikTok has really got me in. Like when I did the Marie Laveau one, like, you know, her thing was white feathers, so I had the little white feathers floating around and everything. I'm just having so much fun.
You're being
let us
so
know, you guys.
creative.
Yeah, let me know. All you guys out there, let me know how much you're liking it. Yeah, it'll be cool.
You can email us at handcuffsandsage@gmail.com. Our website is handcuffsandsagepodcast.com. And we have a Patreon. So if you want to support your fave working mamas, we would love that. And you get goodies too. Can you guys think of anything else that I am forgetting? Anything? No? We're all good?
Yeah,
Ready
we're
to
all
do
good.
it? All right.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Yeah.
And remember, we do
do
what we want.
Woo! Woo! That was good.
All right. Goodbye.
right.
Love y'all.
All right. Have a good night.
We're all
Nighty night.
good. Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Handcuffs and Sage is hosted by Red, Timo, and Dre in a shitty guest room in Los Angeles.
Theme music is Leave Now by We Are Wasted. Cover art done by Megan Winchester. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Show us some love on iTunes. Be a badass and do what you want. Until next time.